Bigfoot Collectors Club with Bryce, Michael, and Ivy. I know a story of high strangeness or two. Let's do this.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Bigfoot Collectors Club, the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history and share stories of high strangeness. I'm your host, Michael McMillan. With me always is your other host,
Bryce Johnson.
Are you miming taking a photo of
I was
Nova?
going to reach for my camera, but I don't. But I was there. Great shot of Michael and Nova right now. We're in the clubhouse.
We're in the clubhouse. Everybody with us always is our ultra-terrestrial producer,
Riley Bray.
Hi, boys.
Hi.
We should get into it pretty quickly because we have our first in-person guest in the clubhouse in over 4 years.
What? Wow, that's crazy.
And we're already worried that we let him in because he's already scared one person who's lived here by trying to walk into the wrong door. We'll get into it. Riley, why don't we quickly nominate our 5-star club scout of the week? This is a listener who has done the nice thing of logging on to Apple Podcasts and giving us a 5-star review, which we're going to read on the air right now.
A recommendation for the strange from Chad W. Senior, I'm guessing. SR. I love it.
Chad,
thank you, sir.
Is that like Bush Senior's dad, Chad W. Senior?
Chad Senior.
Because then
that's Big Chad.
There's George,
young Chad.
and then there's George W. I guess I was trying to pass down the W. It doesn't work that way though. The middle initial is not how you become a junior or a senior.
I don't think. Yeah.
Okay.
But here's the review. In less than a year, I listened to every episode of the show. I've learned so much about encounters, cryptids, conspiracies, and the supernatural, all topics I love. Michael, Bryce, and Riley are the greatest podcast trio in the game.
Holy shit.
Damn. All right. Never a dull moment between the boys, and all the different quirks the guys have quickly become one of my favorite parts of the show. That's a nice way of putting it. I recently...
I like the flaws.
Yeah.
Embrace
hey, you know what?
them.
We embrace the flaws,
It's the
too.
cracks that let the light in.
I recently signed up to be a Cosmeteer member of the Patreon. It's definitely worth it.
Ooh.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
I now have 6 more years of shows to listen to, as well as the sweet, sweet musical delights of one Riley Bray. If I'm not listening to the shows, I'm downloading his music so I can have soothing and strange sounds in the background at work. Amazing. That's exactly what it's intended for.
Wow.
Love it.
Highly recommend
love that.
both this show and the Patreon. Keep up the good work. I give that
Carl's Jr., that was his name?
I love Carl.
Chad
I used to
W.
love
Senior.
Carl.
Chad W. Senior.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Chad.
5 stars to you,
Dude,
Chad.
You know what? You're one of the
5
good
stars to you.
Chads. You know what I mean?
That's
Definitely.
so great to hear. Like,
What a
you know,
review.
man,
Love it.
when I was sort of like interested in all this stuff, you'd sort of like try and find different places to hear about different things. But we've been doing this so long now, I don't know fucking how. But now we've sort of got this catalog where people can learn about conspiracies that are bullshit or cryptids that are cool and ghosts are real and all this stuff. And
Ghosts are real.
I
We
love
proved
that,
it.
man. That's
Let-
a really nice review. Thank you, Chad.
Thank
Let's
Chad.
bring in our buddy here.
Let's
do it.
A returning guest. You know him from Comedy Bang Bang. You know him from The Last O.G. You may have seen him perform live at the Groundlings Theater in Los Angeles. Club Scouts of all timelines, please welcome back to the show in person for the very first time, Ryan Gaul.
I cannot tell you. I can't tell you how happy this makes me to be here. I am a fan of the show. So, and I think I said this last time, but I'm a fan of the show. I found it late, but then I kind of purged every episode.
Yeah.
And I have kept up with every episode. So I'm
Wait,
sitting...
most people binge them. So did you actually just destroy all the files?
Yeah, into the network.
I purged every episode. No, I literally am sitting here going like, oh, it's so fun to hear these voices in person and look at faces and see.
Is
you
it better
guys.
or worse than you imagined?
It's so much worse. No, it's beautiful. I think it's so great because I, you know, when you listen to you listen to this podcast as somebody on the outside, and I'm sure there's many people out there that do this. You start to like gather this image of who each person is, and I know Michael.
Yeah,
I know
we've known each
who
other
you
for a
are,
while.
but I don't know Riley.
Yeah.
Is Riley like blue with like glittery skin in your mind's eye?
Riley is a magical like angel. I don't know how to.
Yeah.
I love that.
I do not know how to describe him, but I adore him. I adore all of you, and to be in this room.
Is Bryce more or less ripped than you imagined him?
I'll be honest, and I'm not trying to like get weird here. Bryce is ripped.
He is.
Bryce
He is.
It's the most jacked
Bryce is
I've
ripped.
ever
Bryce is
seen
ripped.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bryce. If
It's undeniable.
and by the way, it's not like steroid ripped. It's like he's been working.
He's
ripped.
sinewy.
Natural American muscle.
Can we
Yeah.
talk about your body on the show, Bryce?
I've seen
Thank you.
steroid ripped, and you're not.
You're not
steroid
No,
ripped.
no,
You're
for
like
sure.
you've
GNC
been
ripped.
working.
You're
at
like
it.
vegan ripped,
Yeah,
which
Alan
is even
Watts
No,
ripped.
I eat
Yeah.
a lot. I've been eating a lot of meat. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And oh my God, it's so nice to have you in the clubhouse. And we were just saying, like, this is how this whole thing started with people coming in and catching the vibe. And man, it's so great to like be having that back. And maybe
I
we
will
can
say-
start this magic again.
easiest guest I've ever booked. Like, I didn't have to explain the show. It's very weird for us because most people who are on the show, unless they're in the field, don't
Yeah.
know
I'm
about it.
I'm
So-
obsessed.
You're,
with
fan,
you
you're
guys.
fan tripping, and I'm so it's surreal
Amazing.
for me too. To have someone sitting here that's sort of been through the catalog and enjoyed it. I like get a
And-
trip out of it.
and guys-
it's just us doing us,
Ryan Gaul, Comedy Gold,
Yeah.
podcast legend.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Groundlings legend. This guy's the best in the biz.
No,
So really, we're the ones who are
Seriously.
being treated here. And our
No,
listeners.
Exactly.
Coming in today, I was like, I have one story, and I'm not going to like tease it, but I have one thing that's happened between the time that I last talked
love
to you
it.
guys and now. But I will tell you, like,
What's here now? Let's
I
jump
love-
into it. What's your personal paranormal update?
all right, just so you know, I am a comedy guy, but my true like passion is somewhere in horror and paranormal.
Yeah.
Great.
I don't
Yeah, I
know
love
why, and I can't explain it.
Well, there's a theory that horror and comedy go hand in hand because
really
it's all
do.
about build and release.
For sure.
It's all about building up the tension and then
Surprise.
having the surprise of it.
Surprise.
And laughter. I mean, I'm someone who goes through a horror film and laughs their way through a lot of it. You know what I mean? Because
What's your favorite horror film of all time? Am I allowed to ask
Yeah,
all three of you?
sure.
You have to name one, and you have 30 seconds each.
I've already got it.
go for it.
Go.
Aliens to me was horror.
Two or one?
Yeah.
No, the second one,
Alien,
sequel,
right.
because it scared me on such a visceral level because it felt so real, like something that could take place, could happen. And when they look up in that fucking crawl space in the attic, and those things are coming by the dozen, I was floored. This was the best thing. My brother Brendan used to love scary like movies, and they would force me to watch them. This was back in the day when you had to like walk the VHS aisle, and my brother's like, "We're getting Terminator. That's it. I don't want to hear a word about it." I was like, "Oh, I want to watch that." I was like, "You're gonna fucking watch it."
It's Terminator night.
Terminator night, and I was like scared, but then you're kind of glued, and then it just changes who you are.
Yeah.
and so Aliens to me was. I know it's not really horror; it's science fiction, but it
fiction.
horrorized
The
me.
first one is a monster in the house horror movie in the dressings of science fiction.
totally.
People would argue that 2 is an action movie dressed as a science fiction movie,
Right.
but there are horror elements of it. I mean, there's
So scary.
A lot
the
of scary
daughter,
stuff
the
in
girl,
it.
the big. Oh, it's just
the gross people stuck to the the bodies stuck to the
Oh,
walls.
horror. That's horror.
Terrified me as a kid.
Anybody else got one in there?
I mean, mine's The Shining for sure.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just like those
Really?
images are burned in my
Yeah.
brain. And that's also the movie that got me
Psychosis.
going with Kubrick and realizing like, oh, this is
Yeah.
like unbelievable.
I was going to say The Shining because that movie gave me nightmares when I saw it at 18 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
But since you said The Shining, I'll go with my second, which is Rosemary's Baby. Just fucked me up on a fundamental
How
level.
old were you when you
Again,
saw
around the same age. I was very scared of horror movies growing up, and I didn't really want to watch them. So I didn't
too.
watch them until late high school, college, really. I had a buddy in college who was really into the Tom Savini 80s horror movies, your Return of the Living Dead and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I want to watch some of this shit. But I remember there was one summer, I think in the same week, I think I watched Rosemary's Baby and The Shining. And Rosemary's Baby just fucked me up because of the paranoia aspect and then the end. And the end, it was the closest thing to like, this is how my nightmares are structured. Right. Where like, there's going to be a big weird twist at the end that's going to fuck with me.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
What
That's
about you?
horrible.
Yeah, what's yours?
I'm probably more in the world with Bryce, where I'm picking a movie that is on the edge, where aliens. Some people would say like, oh, it's an action thriller movie, but I agree with you. That's a horror movie.
Yeah,
I mean, there are moments in that are devastating.
Yes. Oh my god.
And as a kid, as a 7th grader, I think I like came close to throwing up. But mine is Jaws.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
cool.
Jaws is my number one
Great pick.
perfect script of a just thrilling, horrible
slasher
story.
movie with a shark.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the water.
Yeah.
Why don't we just remake Jaws but call it Slasher Shark?
Slasher Shark.
And all of his teeth are just slasher butcher knives.
Badass is what
Not
that
bad, right?
is.
They did Cocaine Bear.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
Not bad.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
So what happened to you? Because if I recall
Okay.
correctly,
Oh, right.
Yes.
That,
you
yeah.
are super into the paranormal. However, you are very skeptical.
Yes.
And by the way, I'm going to give you a little warning, not to
Yeah.
tease it too much.
Yeah.
Something that you said last time is going to come back to bite you in this episode.
I can't wait.
If we're talking
my
horror
goodness.
movies, you
can't wait.
created as a monster.
I can't wait because the one thing I will say about my opinion about the paranormal, about whether we're talking Bigfoot, cryptids, ghosts, spirits.
It sounded like you were going to make
demons.
one up, like Ghoul Man.
I mean, honestly, sometimes it feels like you guys do. Sometimes it feels like you go like ant wizard.
Michael likes finding those ones.
There's the ant wizard of
Wizard.
North Delaware.
Yeah.
There's some real D-listers out there
So
that have
this
my
is-
heart in their
the-
hands.
I'll tell you exactly what happened to me, and I thought of you guys when this happened because it was probably it was after clearly we did the last podcast, and I came across probably as a skeptic, a high level skeptic. So I go home to Maine where I grew up, and my parents' house, they both live there. My father is 89, my mother is 82.
Wow.
And they're wonderful people. They're in love. They kiss each other on the lips every night before they go to bed. And
Do you
they-
watch them?
Gross.
And I
every
sit
night.
there. I sit there, examine it, and I film it, and I
Archive
They
it.
have to get they have to get the approval of their grown son.
Yeah.
Was that good, Ryan?
One more time.
Do you believe our love?
Go again.
Do you believe it? No, I do.
They live in separate houses. They only go there when he comes to town.
They walk 3 miles to their separate houses.
So romantic.
No, I do love that. I love that about them is that they somehow still love each
They
other.
did it. Yep.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I have friends in town sometimes, and I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna go have a drink and hang out with my friend Tom. And so this one night I went and had a drink with my friend Tom, and I got home probably around midnight, and my parents are obviously asleep, and they leave the front door open as you do in Maine.
That's
and
crazy.
Open or unlocked?
unlocked.
Okay.
Okay.
Wide open.
Wide
That's
open.
just-
I will say
I mean,
this: if it's the summer,
Yeah.
it's
You let a breeze in.
It's a screen door.
Yeah.
I kind of
Yeah.
love that.
Like
I do too.
there's
It's a nice
no
feeling. Yeah.
there's no
50s
lock.
America right
yeah,
there.
guys. Make America great again?
Did we just? Yeah. What if this all turns out? I'm just trying to do an advertisement for Trump.
That's the hard sell.
Like, come on, guys. Okay, so I get home, and it's around midnight. And one of the things I do is when I get home, I always go to my kitchen, my childhood kitchen, and I have saltines and cottage cheese.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
Because there's a nostalgic feeling about that. My dad used to do it when he got home from work. He'd have a few saltines and cottage cheese, and it always
it's a healthy snack.
It's a healthy snack, and it always made me feel like I got something in my gut before I went to bed. So I do that. I shut off the lights, and I'm going up the stairs, and I hear something. I know I hear something. I don't know what it is. So I turn around, and it was below me as I'm going up the stairs.
What's the sound?
The sound is sort of like it's as if somebody's walking across a room. It felt like footsteps. So you know how skeptical I am. I think I hear somebody walking behind me.
Oh, wow.
So I turn around. And without my grandmother, who we called Gam, I said, Gam? And I don't know why I said that.
She's passed.
She's passed.
Wow.
She passed at 99 years old, probably 5 years ago. And I go, and she lived in that house, and she lived across the street in the house, but she spent a ton of time at this house. And I turn on the light. There's a light on the hallway to the stairs, and I go, Gam? And I hear nothing. And I walk down to the base of the stairs, and I come into the living room, which is to the right, and I flick on a light, and I go, Gam? And I don't know why I did this. I said, hey, if you want to send me a message, send me a message.
No.
Nova just burped. That might be it.
Nice, Nova.
Good
Cool
job.
timing.
Great timing, buddy.
Wow,
Nova.
he's been taking comedy classes at Dog College.
By the way, Nova looks exactly like him.
Oh my god!
That's why you're like, is this a dog? Or is this a grandma?
I'm enraptured.
We were on the edge of our seats. You could hear pin drops in here.
So I'm halfway up the stairs. I walk down the stairs. I turn to the right, and I turn on a light. And I'm telling you, this is like me as a 50-year-old man. I'm telling you, I was like weirded out in this moment. And I go, Gim, is that you? Is that you? And on my honor, a picture of my grandmother, Gam, on the wall behind me, dropped to the ground.
No, come on.
Slam
These
dunk.
pictures.
Ghosts are real.
Ghosts are real,
So
guys.
here's what I did. I shit my pants quickly,
Real quick.
wiped it up,
would.
cleaned it up, put
right
it in the
out.
trash. No, I really did. I really was like,
Gotta hide your shame.
My God, I can't believe that just happened. So
Yeah.
I'm sitting there, I'm frozen,
Yeah.
and I go out loud. I just said, like, Gam, I hope you're here. I hope you're with me. If you are, tonight may not be the best night to do this. But I want you to know. But I want you to know I'm open to it. Please continue to contact with me. No, because honestly,
Right.
I was probably like 3 whiskeys in.
She came all this way from like Alpha Centauri.
Yeah.
Like,
Fine. All right, then.
no, just
Not tonight, girl.
I love what you're up to.
All the energy it took her to muster
Right.
on the other side to knock that picture.
But
You're
it,
like,
but
no.
it felt. I felt a.
That's
I know
incredible.
this is
That's
crazy,
amazing.
but I felt a peace when I said that. I was like, Gam, we can't do this right now. Mom and Dad they're asleep. They're like
They've had their kiss.
and yeah, they had their nightly kiss.
I could show you some replay
and
if you want.
I went up to bed, But I will tell you this: I sleep there. I go home often now because my parents are old, and I try to go back there to like help them with adjusting the house from season to season, or whatever. And I will wake up more often than not in the middle of the night, and I will hear footsteps in the room, and I'm like, wow, Gam, is that you
just hanging out?
Now I don't know. I don't know.
And because it popped into your mind and you said Gam. Isn't that funny how it works like
that? That's what was weird.
Why would you say that?
Okay, I have a theory about that.
Let's hear it.
My spidey sense went off when you said that. Okay. Because yes, it could have been like a message, like a subliminal message from beyond. I actually think, and this actually makes it all a little bit more realistic, is you probably heard her. You said she lived in the house.
She stayed with us quite often.
So you were aware of what everyone, when they walk around a house, has a specific sound.
Right.
And you knew subconsciously what Gam's sound was walking through that house, whether you were aware of it or not.
Yeah.
And you probably were never cognizant of like, that's how my grandma sounds when she walks through
like
the house.
But when you trigger a memory.
Yeah, when you heard it, you were like, you knew it was her because you knew that sound subconsciously.
God.
Yeah.
If I smell a good Southern California parking lot, I immediately think of Disneyland. I don't know why. It just takes me there.
It takes me there. I just got a picture of Bryce slow rolling past each parking lot and sticking his head out the window and getting a big whip. Yep.
That's it. That's
a
right
scary
there.
scene.
Anyway, I will say, I've never been in a moment before where that thing dropped off the wall.
That's wild.
But my parents have pictures of their grandchildren, all their kids, everybody.
I have to ask.
The picture of her.
This must directly confront your skepticism. I mean, you would be a fool not to see this as a meaningful something.
I agree with you.
This is something.
Wow.
Wow.
Ryan Gaul, a changed man.
Wow.
I don't like, I'm not sure I'm a changed man.
Yeah, I was like, hold on.
It's my job to push the needle forward.
Something occurred.
But
which can't be
I do think
explained.
something is, and maybe I said this to you guys when I was last here, is like, I do believe there's something there. There's something more than us.
Yeah. We're not even saying it's your dead Gams.
No.
I mean, we don't know what type of psychic energy we off-put, when we encompass a space. We don't have the answers. We know ghosts are real. We did prove that. But
so you're suggesting he might be telekinetic?
No. I'm saying I'm not sure how the afterworld works.
That's very fair.
I don't think any of us are, but it is.
But there does seem to be like an element of Gams there, whether it's coming through you or through her or through both of you.
Yes.
There does seem to be an energy that can immediately arrive at a space before you enter there going, Gams? Are you here? Like you feel that energy come into a room, Maybe it's mixed with the footsteps that we recognize as well, but I think it's something more visceral. Like it just hits you.
Right.
Like this psychic image just pops in your head. Gams,
and I really did.
Yeah.
Bryce, I felt something in the middle of the night in stone cold, dark Maine, like no sound coming down those stairs. There wasn't a peep. There wasn't like no birds. It was dead silence.
Wow.
And I said, I did go, Gam? And that's where I'm like, is it coming through my mind? Is it coming from some outer source? Who knows?
I think both. It's the battery and the receiver. It's got, maybe. I mean, I don't know, but I love it. Thank you for sharing.
But I never touched anything on the wall. I know that. And I would say that. I'd be like, oh, I might have knocked the wall.
Right, sure, yeah.
I didn't touch a wall.
Michael just had a thing happen.
Yeah, you haven't heard this yet.
And maybe your picture thing is connected to his picture thing. Crazy.
Could be. We got to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to get into some of
No breaks. We can't take a break.
He had a picture jump off the wall.
We can't take a break right now.
Jump off a shelf.
We have to.
We can't take a break.
We must.
Okay.
Okay, we're back. Are you okay? Did you survive the break?
God, I barely survived.
So here's the thing: we're doing L Files this week. We're listening to your stories that you've sent in. Now, I was not prepared for such an amazing personal paranormal update by Ryan Gaul, but part of me is like, do we skip this BCC news and get into it, or do we do this BCC news update?
You
Because
have to do this.
I feel like we have to. So, Ryan. Well, I guess we should cue Riley, actually. Riley, get ready because we have some BCC news!
That was our best one yet.
Well, it's because we're in the same room.
Wow.
This helps when we don't have laggy Wi-Fi. Okay, so about a year ago, you guys will remember this, and our listeners at home, there was a story that came out of Las Vegas where a family saw a meteor crash. It was caught, that meteor or UFO, weird light in the sky, was caught on the dash cam or on the body cam of a police officer.
Officer's body cam.
Then they got a call. A family said, we have 2 7-foot-tall non-human beings in our backyard. Okay. So they presented some shaky video of which we watched, and I couldn't even see what they were looking at.
Yeah, it was really hard. It was in the shadows.
Yeah.
So I have not one, but 2 updates on this story a year out. So let's talk about the video first. So News Nation's Liz Jazin talked to... Oh, wait a minute. Is this... Yes, it is.
By the way, I looked up News Nation because I was like...
I was too. I did too.
I immediately was
Can't
like,
tell.
who's News
Suspect.
Nation? They are considered a very like middle of the road.
That's what they say.
Oh,
However, they are covering this Vegas story, which lends me to believe...
Finally, someone is.
Well, who knows?
Kudos to you,
But
Liz.
I did too.
I looked at other things they were covering, and
did too.
they do cover like a ton of other political
they
issues.
They seem to be fine for now until we hear otherwise. So anyway, they got a veteran
Fine until
they're
Yeah,
fine
I mean, that's the way the world.
They're fine.
That honestly is.
Guys, that's the way the world works. So, a veteran crime scene recreation expert who's analyzed the video that purports to show 2 creatures in a Las Vegas backyard says that the video hasn't been altered, and he believes he sees the images of not 1 but 2 beings. Once you see it, you can't deny it, said Scott Roeder of Evidence Room, Animation, and Exhibits. There's no editing. That is an original video, he told News Nation's Banfield on Friday. We tried to debunk it to see if there was something that was added to the video, and all of our results came back in as it was authentic. Proving the video hasn't been altered doesn't confirm what it shows. And Roeder says it took a lot of views before he spotted something that he initially missed. Guess what, buddy? Me too. And it took this video. I got a YouTube link. We're going to throw it in the show notes. I sent it to you guys, and they do this thing where he recreates basically what the body of a shadow being is behind a fence in this backyard. So basically, you see the top of what looks to be sort of like a tall gray.
It's a tall gray. Let's
head,
just call
but
it gray.
It's very shadowy. It's very vague.
Yeah.
Appearing above a very tall fence, like a 6-foot tall
You
fence.
got to remember, this was a family that called 911.
It was a family.
And they called 911. The cops came to their property. This wasn't just some practical joke. When this kid came on the internet to explain what happened, I'm in the business. We are in the business of acting. We know truth tells and lies. This kid was telling the truth, man.
So basically, there's like there seems to be a physical form behind this fence. There's slats in the fence where you can see, on the other side, and it looks to be like the shadow form of a leg appears on the other side of this fence. Roeder said they used motion tracking software, which also pinpoints the source of the motion. Quote, we took the vector motion, points in space, and then we attached that to a figure in the background to show that the movement of the shadow reflects the movement of a body that is attached to the head. It's peeking over.
I like
We
that.
don't believe it's a floating head. We believe it's attached to a body, and the motion of that head from right to left is consistent with the motion that we see between the slats of the fence. It's there. It's absolutely there. So you guys took a look at this video. It's it does look like one of those crime scene like recreation things a little bit. Ryan, what was your thought? Do you see a tall gray behind the fence here? It's very brief.
I mean, here's what I saw. I saw it was a little confusing in the where some of the
they all look like they're looking in a different direction, which is why you don't really see this thing to their right.
Totally. But the technology sort of shows like a blurry, kind of a little fuzzy thing at the top of the fence.
That's supposed to be the head appearing, but it's in like
but
shadow form.
My question was which is the actual footage, because there was footage where I was like, wait, is that there's an alien face there that's put in there
footage has the shadowy head, the original footage, and then they go and kind of overlay.
Yeah, they impose.
They are very liberal with what this alien's body looks
So
like.
clearly,
But that's
It's this cool guy.
It's like straight out of Predator.
I
which
wish
is pretty fucking funny.
I wish they hadn't done that.
Me too.
because
It is a little wild.
It says like, here's what we want to see.
Yes.
And the truth is you're seeing something blurry, but I do think it's hard to explain.
It's the most science fiction creature you've seen.
Yeah, totally.
But there's something.
There's something behind the fence.
I like that guy though,
Me too.
the crime scene recreator guy.
Oh,
he was a great character and just like clearly
he was
very good at his job.
He was great, and he also was like, "Hey, doesn't mean it's real."
Right.
He was sort of
Reasonable
like,
about it.
Yeah. But you look at the movement in that fence, and for the listeners, you watch it and you can see movement through the fence like lines where there's something there, and then you see this blurry thing at the top, and I'm like, oh, is that out of focus, or is it a pinky that somehow like moved in from somebody who was shooting that?
Oh,
that
right.
Sure, yes.
Because that footage is not that's not police footage, right?
No, that's the
phone,
family's cell phone,
Yeah,
and then they
so,
get too scared to go all the way in the backyard.
Do you remember like hearing him like recount the story of like the thing on the roof and doing like strange stuff? It's like it came out of one of our stories of high strangeness.
Well, Bryce,
literally.
I told you there's a second part to this. There's another story that dropped this week
Oh,
about it. And the headline is, again, from
I
News
gotta put
Nation,
my pajamas on.
more demonic incidents at Las Vegas UFO house.
Really?
Teen. The teen is back, and he's got some updates for us.
No.
The Las Vegas teen who claimed that he saw non-human beings in his backyard nearly a year ago now claims there have been more strange occurrences in his house.
This tracks.
Angel Kenmore, 17, says he saw a cross float in the air and the pages of a Bible flip over in a room with no breeze.
Okay.
Now Kenmore says he really wants to move.
Well, you lost Riley.
Nearly a year
I'll
ago,
be
the
in the
Kenmore
bathroom.
family called the police to report strange 10-foot tall creatures in the backyard. Now they claim to be experiencing even stranger events, floating upside down crucifixes. Kenmore said that he and his brother saw a cross from which the figure of Jesus had been ripped off. He says there was an upside down cross and it was floating upside down, Kenmore said. I was just standing there. It was crazy. We got closer to it and it dropped. News Nation correspondent Alex Capriello pressed Kenmore on the incident, and you can say definitively without lies that is what you saw? Yes, swear to God, that's what I saw, he answered. The other incident involved a Bible that sat on a table, its pages steadily turning with no help and no breeze. Flipping the pages, but it wasn't from the air. It was steady, like someone was holding it, Kenmore said. Kenmore called it another sign of a demonic presence in the house. We had a couple of priests come over to the house. They said that they might have been fallen angels. Kenmore believes there is a connection between the creatures he reported in his family's backyard last year and the phenomena inside his house, although he isn't too sure now that the creatures were extraterrestrial, but rather demonic presences. How does that make you feel about living here still? Asked Capriello. Not too good, Kenmore said. I was pretty scared, traumatized, not a good experience. The whole family intends to move away from the house as soon as possible. So now they're saying it's demons. But listen, I will say we do know that people who experience these alien encounters often report in years following poltergeist activity in the house.
Yeah, that was a big learning
and
for
I
me
don't
on this
think
podcast.
that kid knows that.
Yeah.
And I also think that, he could be interpreting it.
That's his filter.
His filter is going to be religion, it sounds like. If they've got a crucifix of Jesus
it's a religious
right.
in the
household.
house and a Bible just sitting on
Which
a
is not
table waiting
uncommon.
to be
Yeah,
read.
not uncommon.
They're pretty religious. What do you think, Ryan?
I was on board with the original footage where I was like, something is happening here. The idea that it's come back and now they're talking about Bible stuff, I don't know. That always is
kind of a bad
that's
when my eyes glaze
a
over.
trigger for me
Yeah.
because I'm like, I'm 100% an atheist. And
He's asking a lot to go from aliens and then right into, he just
He's
changed.
breaking
You
the
have
rules.
the
Change
room,
up.
man.
You're breaking the rule.
Yeah.
You can't have two.
Yeah.
You can't have two kinds of magic in
Right.
the same
It's a hat on
movie.
a hat, as
Yeah.
Michael would say.
It would have
Exactly.
made
That's
it
exactly
would have made
what it
more
is.
sense to me if he was like, "Hey, here's an update. There's still somebody in the backyard."
I do have to say though, just for contextual purposes,
It tracks.
whether I am into it or not, I can point to the Betty Andreasson case. I can point to the Pascagoula alien abduction.
Travis Wilton.
Further,
Most cases have poltergeist activity.
well, and poltergeist activity or activity that evolved into some type of religious-based phenomena as well.
So,
Viewed through a religious filter.
Yes.
it's whatever your filter is. If
Yeah.
you're brought up in a sort of a Hindu, well, you probably won't be dealing with a lot of sort of those.
I don't think any of us are qualified to talk about what is about to come out of your mouth next.
No. Listen. We don't have to be so sensitive. Look, I was saying if you're brought up in a Hindu culture and not a Catholic,
You're not going to see
You're not
Jesus.
going to have those
Yeah.
same filters as like, or a
Right.
Bible in your house or a cross. You'll have other motifs and stuff, and so you'll feel something
Yeah.
different. You'll interpret
Yes.
it through
Yeah.
a different lens.
I agree.
So it shouldn't throw you off so much that it was a Bible
and a
and a
lot of
cross.
people-
But I get it. It's a hat on a hat.
Those are the
But a lot-
symbols around
you
that.
had the room, as you said.
A lot
Yeah.
of people, including some of our top military brass, think that these Greys are demons and
That's
are
true.
afraid that this is something coming from.
That is very true.
Well, how can anyone know until we know?
What's the difference?
A lot
really?
of people think a lot of things.
A lot of
people think a lot of things.
If there's one thing I've learned from
You
this
know?
show,
It's not bad.
that.
It's not bad. It's
But
not, it's not bad.
if they were
bad.
demons,
Uh-huh.
if they were demons, don't you think they would have had the ability to do some major damage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you think there'd be
Or-
a little more heavy metal playing?
Yeah.
Right.
But
right.
I just think like, is it we're filtering these experiences through our religion
Also-
or our
Also, I was going to say, when the only thing you have in your house are crosses and Bibles, that's the only material they have to work with.
well, what is
the
it
only
about
thing
like
they can
a
make
Hardy
float.
Boys book?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
would those pages start flying and you're like, what?
They don't have their
Chip?
This is not a secular. This is not a
Chip,
secular.
what happened?
It's not a secular household. So
Yeah.
no Hardy Boys.
But it's an interesting question. Like, is experiencing these moments? Is it because of not just religion, but just how you've experienced your life?
Well, and and totally, and God, if these things are really happening to this kid and this family, I feel for him because it must be it must be crazy to go from like thinking like you're being invaded by extraterrestrials to like, is this sort of demonic? To like, who knows?
Let me tell you this though.
Yeah.
What a fun year this 17-year-old's having.
He's had a ball.
He's had a wild ride.
We should try and get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
That's true.
Honestly.
Because
should.
like say the first moment is 100% true,
Yeah.
and then he like his mind went crazy and he like came up with these other things. It doesn't like one does not denounce the other.
To me, this always just felt like a story of high strangeness happening in real time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is how they
start. And then we'll talk about them years later. You know?
It's going to be the Vegas UFO incident.
Vegas UFO.
All right. We're going to take another quick break. Hold on.
We can't take another break.
We have to. Just real quick. We have to.
I will not allow it.
All right. Well, sorry. We'll be right back.
Nova, get over here.
Oh, he is chilling hard.
Nova's the best.
He really is. He's the greatest dog ever.
All right, we're back with Ryan Gaul. And guess what? It's time to dip back into these L files. These are stories that you all have sent in to us over at BigfootCollectorsClub@gmail.com. If you have your own Vegas UFO story or you have your own GAM story, write to us. We want to hear about it. You can also leave us let's say, up to 5-minute voice memo and email it to us at BigfootCollectorsClub@gmail.com. Now, here's a letter that I've been saving for Ryan until you came back on the show. I could have read this. We could have read this a year ago.
You saved this for me?
Not the one you're holding, but the one Riley is going to read to you.
Oh, okay.
We've saved this for you. Okay.
I'm very excited.
It would have been better if it was the one you were holding.
Yeah.
You know, it was a misdirect. It was a classic misdirect.
You look down.
It was.
This
I was
very
like,
letter?
what? No.
Not that letter.
I will tell you this.
You look down and it's just a drawing of your grandma flipping to the bird.
And she's like, gotcha.
Gotcha.
You missed it.
The pictures fall off the walls.
and she's kissing your mom instead of your dad.
And I'm like, wait a minute. The world's upside down. No, I will say when I left doing the show with you guys last time and it was on Zoom, I did feel like, God, I didn't leave them with a real representation of who I was, because I'm like, I came across as sort of a nasty skeptic, and really what I am is I'm a skeptic. I'm a hopeful skeptic.
Yes. No, you were great.
Yeah.
But someone does take umbrage with one of your opinions. Here we go.
Here we go. All right. Make me read the bearer of news here. Hello. I am a new listener. I am currently listening to episode 226, Stumps from Space, with Ryan Gaul. And hearing his arguments against dowsing rods got me wanting to send in my experience with the dowsing rods.
Now, pause real quick. Do you remember this?
Yeah, dowsing rods are not real.
Okay, great.
Doubles down.
Okay, great.
I will double down on that. I will double down on that.
We are in the letter.
Yeah.
He is doubling down.
I will double down on
radio.
Toby, I hope you. Thank you for being patient. Here we go.
Here we go, buddy. I was a geotech driller for about a year. When drilling, you always worry about hitting water lines, but something I was taught by other drillers was to use dowsing rods when feeling unsure, and it worked all the time. I tested to see how accurate it was a few times. Sometimes we would have the water company come out and they used sensors and spray painted where lines were at, and after they came through, I would go drill, and for fun, I would use rods, and amazingly, they would move when over the water line, then go back to the starting position when I moved away from the water line.
Weird.
And to add more weirdness to it, the rods would point in the direction the water line was going. I can't explain how it works, but I know it works, and they have saved me from drilling into water lines numerous times. Toby.
Wow.
Toby with the drill.
So can I right away go? Anybody
He's a
that says,
geotech driller, okay?
yeah, but he can't explain how it works, but he knows it works.
It works.
Well, I call bullshit. I'll give him my email right now and say, show me some
need a video,
evidence of
Toby.
how this
Toby.
works.
Send it to us,
Send us a
Toby.
video.
Yeah,
and we'll
I
make
want
sure
video
Ryan
of
gets
how
it.
this
Oh my God,
works.
please, Toby.
We will
send
make
us
sure-
a video
and
of
we will-
the dowsing
I don't
rods
believe
working.
it. I do not believe it.
We will get it. Let's show him.
Listen,
okay, Toby, I'm on your side.
Here's where I pause here, though, because he's saying that the water company comes out and marks the lines, and then he
Not
checks.
always.
But I get it, and I'm not Toby. I believe you, buddy. But subconsciously, if you knew the answer,
No, I know, but
wouldn't
he's
you
testing.
manipulate the thing?
But that's
Yes.
also but that's also going
Yes,
back and
Riley.
testing. Like,
I know,
okay,
I get that's his test,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm saying that test could be.
but he
wrong.
says it even when it's not marked because they don't know where the water lines are and they got to drill.
But
right.
you have
He's saying then it works, and they use it.
Yeah.
So
you
there
have
go.
to know how it works.
Not
Do you
necessarily.
know how this laptop works?
Yeah, I do.
Nice.
I could in a
Cool.
hundred. In if you said, "Do you know how that laptop works?" and you said, "I'll give you 10 minutes," I could send you 5,000 articles on how.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
I
There you go.
guarantee you,
Peer
we can
reviewed.
find
That's
5,000
it.
articles on
Peer
how
reviewed.
dowsing rods work. You can find
No.
a lot of articles.
Okay, please do, because they do not.
Okay.
No, here's the
You've
thing.
been to dowsing.org, bro?
Dowsing rods have
Dowsing.org.
no scientific.
Hey, well, you got to go down to
Reasoning
Toby
behind
Kissed
them.
Your Mom at dowsing.com. Check it out.
Toby, I love you, and I love what he's doing, but I do not believe that is the reason he's having success.
Toby,
I do not believe it.
like a good luck
send us a
charm.
video. We're gonna keep this going.
Keep it going. Hey, we'll do it again. We'll
Yeah,
do it
one
again.
more
We'll do
year,
it again.
year
We'll
and
do
a
it
half.
again.
I love it.
Get back into geotech.
I say it
drilling.
with love and compassion.
Okay,
I do.
now
course.
Ryan,
Always.
we have a letter here. This is
boy.
from a friend of the show who sent us some wonderful coffee a few weeks
nice.
ago.
Oh, that coffee was
really
good.
good stuff
Yeah.
from Manbot. Here you go. Why don't you dive in?
All right. Dear Michael, Bryce, and Riley.
And Ryan.
And Ryan. She didn't know. Or he didn't know.
I think it's he. Could be they. Could be her. We'll find out.
Who knows?
I think it's
Thank you so much for this awesome podcast. I do mean awesome in that it is awe-inspiring as well as downright cool. And that's cool with a K, bitches.
Shit. Cool.
I've been listening for a little while now, starting from episode 1, after I happened upon a more recent episode. I was hooked immediately. It is so fun and satiates my need for high strangeness combined with good times and good vibes.
Now, I have to say, you're doing actually a very good job of I really feel like you are this person who has sat down at a desk and is thoughtfully writing this
I
letter.
know. I like it.
I was,
Typing
I
it
was
out.
hooked from the first
Making
4
a
words
meal
you
of
read.
it.
I was
Yeah.
like,
I'm trying to
I'm
capture
really on board.
the voice of who's writing this.
Great. You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
All right, here we go, babies. I wanted to first off send a letter because I enjoy this format way more than sending an email, and so that I could send you a gift. By no means am I shamelessly hawking you my wares, but am showing my support in my own personal way. I hope you will enjoy it. Secondly, I wanted to share a story with you as well that will hopefully make it to the L files.
Boom. There you go.
Done.
It was August of this year, and we were having a little bachelor party for our friend. We went up to, is it Winnacone, Wisconsin?
Okay.
Is
I'll
it
look up.
Winnacone?
I don't know.
Anybody
I'll
know?
look it up.
I don't know. Winnacone. Let's call it Winnacone, Wisconsin, for good hangs, beers, and what not as many do for such an adventure. I don't know if that's a typo, but
Read
I think
as
I know
typed.
what she's or he or they are saying. Winnacone is a small town located on Lake Winnacone. God, they're making me say Winnacone so many times. If it's wrong, I'm screwed.
Hold on. Keep reading.
Okay.
keep digging that hole. Yeah, no.
Where were they again?
Jesus.
I think you nailed it.
Yeah, it's got to be.
It's not
Winnacone.
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 Yeah.
Winnacone.
Winnacone.
Okay.
When I come?
I'm going to go Winnacone.
Sorry.
All right, here we go.
Somebody in Winnacone right now is like, shut up,
So
Bryce.
it's Winnacone.
Winnacone.
All right. And
Winnacone.
And
Emphasis on
moving
win.
forward.
Winnacone. Oh.
Winnacone is a small town located on Lake Winnacone. Not really too secluded. Just a small town to remove ourselves from the Chicagoland area. One of the nights we had decided to venture back out on the boat Everyone was pretty wiped out from a good old-fashioned session of day drinking and swimming in the lake.
The
Jet
best.
Sea
Summer
Scummer.
What a day.
I should mention at a certain point earlier in the day, I stopped drinking hams. Is hams a beer?
Yeah, hams.
Oh, yeah. I stopped drinking hams and decided to take an edible or two.
Nice.
Here we go.
Good choice.
To relax.
It's about to get weird.
These days, the partying thing takes its toll. So, for the most part, by the time we headed out that evening...
Said in the character of a man who's fearing a long winter ahead.
Partying takes its toll.
Time to drink less.
This is
and
like
eat
the
more
prairie
weed.
home.
That's right.
This is
There
like
you go. Easier on the liver.
Ryan, this is like the Prairie Home companion version of Hellfiles.
I'm just settling it. We should light the fireplace.
It's the seasonal
So for the most
intoxicant.
part, by the time we headed out for that evening, I was fairly sober by my standards. The night was otherworldly. We didn't expect to experience what I assumed was a meteor shower. Tons of shooting stars, more than I had ever seen before. And we decided to hang out. Lights out, which is stupid, and I enjoy the night. Okay. I'm just reading this. When we decided to head back to look to... I'm sorry. When we decided to head back, we took her in slowly.
The boat.
The boat?
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. Okay, we're in a boat.
The boat.
We're in a boat.
That's
guys.
what the lights out
Okay.
were.
I'm going to go back to it. Let's
now. I
start this whole
understand.
thing over.
Where are we?
As we were headed
And
back,
we got to take a break.
as we headed back, we all noticed a strange light in the distance. It was in the direction of the town and the bridge that connected the homes to the first downtown area. It was extremely bright. We thought at first it was headlights from a car, but it didn't make sense. For one, it seemed to be a single light
Instead of two headlights.
and way brighter than any headlight. Not to mention, the bridge ran north/south across the lake, and the light was pointed at us in the west. As we slowly headed east and towards the light, it began to get brighter and move higher into the air. Something commented, oh my God.
You're doing great.
I feel awful.
No,
I feel awful. I feel awful. I need my
You're in too deep.
my
You gotta
Warby
keep
Parkers
going.
needed to be updated, and they haven't been. Okay,
I mean, I did give you like a small print.
Was this like typed
small
on a
print
typewriter?
type, yes.
Oh my
It's
God,
called- this
amazing.
is typewriter.
Do you want my
print.
reading glasses?
This is typewriter print. No, hold on. Someone commented that it was a plane or a drone, but as we got closer, so did the light, and it began to change. The light started to change into a perfect square.
Whoa.
That's not good.
It didn't seem to be obscured in any way, like looking at light set in the square. It was just a
Right.
block of light.
So no like fuzziness.
Oh my God. I just turned to the second page and there's like weird drawings.
How long is this letter?
It's 15 pages.
Buckle up.
As we continued, the single square turned into multiple squares.
Oh man.
I've heard of this before,
Okay,
by the
yeah,
way.
yeah.
This is
This is very
common, right?
Hudson Valley.
Yeah.
It's very Hudson
It's
Valley.
Sitting
good.
side by side on one another. There were a couple of tiny red lights that were set behind the bright squares. It was 3 perfect squares of light floating in the sky. The scariest thing was it was silent and seemed to be following us at a distance. I couldn't take my eyes off it. I kept thinking it was a helicopter, or maybe these drunken clowns were right and some townie was flying a drone. But there was no noise whatsoever. Helicopters are loud, and it was late. I want to say after midnight at this point. The size and distance of the lights made me think if it was a drone, we would have heard it for sure. I kept watching as we trolled back to the house. It was following in front of us for sure, moving slowly north. I shit you not. How dare she? Or he? Or they? I shit you not.
Shit's the same either way.
Yeah.
Like most things of high strangeness, I blinked and it vanished.
Whoa.
I was freaked, and my friends lost interest early on, so I was quietly panicking and wondering where the fuck did this thing go? It was one of the strangest things I've ever experienced. Thinking about it now, I have no idea what it could have been. It didn't remind me of any other accounts I have heard of before. We didn't lose time or anything. No one got sick. No paranormal activity followed. Or MIBs. This is a little thing here.
Okay. Yeah, so no Men in Black showed up.
There
no
were no Men in
paranormal
Blacks.
activity like
Yeah.
the demonic house in Vegas.
Gotcha.
It was pretty weird, and I thought it was worth telling you guys about. Hopefully you can shed some light on the experience. I will add a little drawing to better help explain what I saw as well.
We'll put that up on the Instagram. Why don't you pass that drawing around?
Thank you for the great content. The music always rips.
Yeah!
And the banter is fantastic. Keep up the great work and enjoy the gifts. Sincerely, Chris.
Awesome.
Chris from Manbot.
Good coffee.
I apologize for my horrible reading.
No,
That
That's
was
great.
great. I was
No.
I was there.
Yeah, I was on
No,
the edge of my seat.
I honestly, I was wrapped up in it
The
a little bit.
hard light, the hard edges of the square light is really what's got me now. Let's
No,
take a peek at
you
these
can-
drawings.
Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you come in during a meteorite? That's the
I mean, look at-
perfect time.
mask under a meteor shower.
Yeah, that's not normal. These are great drawings.
yeah, very cool drawings.
Oh, I love it.
You need to do a coffee flavor based on this sighting.
You know, it's so interesting. Carl Jung felt that the saucer was a symbolism of the mandala, which represented wholeness. You know, but now that when you see something of a different shape, I mean, a square, it's a primal shape too. I wonder what the symbolism is there.
It's hard to make like hard lines in light like that.
You know, I had this thought though.
It's a UFO, Chris. You saw a UFO.
Yeah, you saw a UFO, my guy.
Do you think there's this like thing where it's like, okay, you know how it just
UFOs.
vanishes? Do you think maybe it doesn't vanishes and you and the UFO go off to a different timeline with everyone else? It's like
Maybe.
and then, but you know,
a
at
little
that
pocket dimension.
like a little pocket dimension. Meanwhile, you know, what you just think like, oh, it just vanished. Actually, no, you're just sort of set off on a different. I don't know what I'm trying to. You said it with pocket.
Yeah.
Jump dimensions.
Yeah, it's like a dimension jump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flipping it out. You saw it. Ryan saw a UFO.
I mean,
Now, this rang a bell for you. You said, I've heard of this when it moved into different lights.
well, I think I have certainly, like, you look for commonality and experiences from people, and this to me rings true with first person experiences where they see things separate into several different, you know, you see something over the mountains, it separates into several different squares. Like, there are things where you go like, well, it's odd. You can't say like somebody's just making this up.
Yeah, and she's
Because-
rationalizing it too. She's like, it's not a drone, it's not a helicopter. I checked to see. Yeah, yeah, of
It
course.
was a bachelor party.
Right. I went back to check if it was a drone. It wasn't. So it's a very rational thought attempt at trying to explain what happened.
Yeah, it's bizarre
It's a
because
UFO.
and then you could go like, well, maybe
Solved it.
Yeah.
is she basing this off
The
of,
boat is she. The writer, the letter writer is
I
he.
think from now on it's she.
He's made a judgment call. That's what we're going with.
Honestly, that's weird that I just assumed this was a
Well, we don't
was a
know.
she.
No,
Chris-
a good car and a
Chris
good boat is
could-
always a
Chris
girl.
is
It's that way, right?
Chris is a non-binary name. It's a UFO. That's all I
UFO.
know.
Yeah.
It is a UFO for 100% a UFO.
100%. If it's alien tech, we'll never know.
Or maybe we will.
Maybe we will. Riley, how are we doing on time? Do we have time for 2 more letters or 1 more letter?
I feel like we should just do the 2.
Okay, great.
And
Bryce,
if it doesn't fit, then you know where it is, guys. It's over on the other side.
you're,
That's right.
Snap.
That's called the soft cell right there.
All right, here we go. Okay. Hello, Michael, Bryce, Riley, and Ryan. I'm a listener that found this podcast through your friends over at Distractable.
Nice.
Hey, what's up? I've been wanting to send in this story for some time now, but I've been putting it off more and more as I hear other listeners' high strangeness stories. All of them seem a lot weirder than my own,
we'll
but
be the judge of that.
after listening to the St. Clair UFO incident, I decided to submit my personal experience.
Love it.
This experience happened when I was in college. It was 2020 and I was 21 years old. The university I went to was 2 hours away from my hometown. I was driving back to school when I saw something that I can't explain. To give some context, I'm a religious person, but not in the traditional Christian sense. I grew up going to church every Sunday and going to a private Christian school.
So far, sounds pretty traditional.
Yeah, I did that too, until high school, where I went to public school. I know a lot about the Christian views and their beliefs. I don't agree with some of it, and I'm not part of the church anymore. But I do think that there is a higher power out there, or a God that created us.
Great.
And it is something that we can communicate with.
Yeah, it's about where I'm at.
My personal means of communication is by what some might call quote-unquote prayer. But again, I don't have the same views on Christianity as others do, so I personally just talk to it, her, him, they, them from time to time. I also think it created life on other planets, so who is to say they aren't advanced enough to visit our planet? Anyway, at that point in my life, I was going through a particularly hard time for personal reasons that aren't important to the story. It was dark, and where I was driving, there was no visible light, pollution, so I could see all the stars. I was cruising and listening to some music, and I started to pray or just talk out loud saying, if you're there, please just give me a sign. I know that's incredibly selfish of me, but I just need to know that you can at least hear me. Just as I said that, I see a light flash in the sky. Not bright enough to be noticeable, but just happened to be in the same direction I was driving towards, and where my eyes were looking. To better describe it, it was like a star just turned on in the night sky. For half a second, I didn't think much of it, but it started moving from left to my right. It wasn't moving fast, just sort of smoothly gliding through other stars. I watched it while I tried to also keep my eye on the road. It had moved completely to the right side of my windshield. I drove through a small patch of trees.
Wait a minute. Oh no.
Hold on.
It went off the road.
Yeah. Maybe 40,
I think drove past.
maybe 40 to 50 yards long and traveling at about 70 miles per hour. And the trees took 1 or 2 seconds to pass. Now, as soon as I passed the trees, it was gone. No sign of it at all. Now, I know what you're thinking. A shooting star. Right? Too bright and too slow to be a shooting star. A satellite. Well, it's too bright and too slow to be a satellite. You might also be thinking it was a plane that was reflecting the sun, but I've seen that before so many times, and this was not that. No colored lights were flashing, and there was no chance it was reflecting any light because it was pitch black and at about 11 o'clock at night. Again, I'm in the dark sky where I can see almost all the stars, but this star, or whatever it was just different. I grew up living what some might call the country. I grew up just outside of a small town in Ohio with little to no light pollution. I've spent countless hours looking up in the night sky, watching hundreds of shooting stars, satellites, picking out different constellations. I've seen the International Space Station a couple of times. And since college, I've moved back to my hometown where I've also seen the SpaceX Starlink twice. I actually thought that was aliens the first time I saw it.
So until everybody else.
Yeah, until my girlfriend explained to me what it was.
We've gotten a few of those letters, by the way. They never make it to the L files. Yeah, it's Starlink. Pretty cool.
I even just saw an asteroid explode, entering the atmosphere. That was crazy. That was none of those, okay? This was none of that. This was something else, something unexplainable. Maybe I'm missing something, and you guys can help me explain this, but I believe it was a higher power giving me a sign, or it was a UAP. Could it have been both? Love your podcast. Love you guys. Keep up the good work. And while I wasn't missing any time, maybe I should get go regressed. I should get go regressed. Maybe I should go get regressed. I screwed that up. Not Jackson.
It's your tagline.
That's my fucking tagline. This happened to me.
Maybe I should get go regress.
Remember when I went silly during that sort of my
I want that t-shirt. Applesauce.
Jackson,
get go
thank you, man.
He's flying on a shooting star.
Get go regress.
He's like on a comet, like riding a horse.
Man.
Jackson, sorry about that. We got a little goofy at the end.
I love this.
Oh, by the way, Jackson, he, him. Thank you very much, Jackson.
There you go.
Yeah. I love this, Jackson. I think that's fantastic. I mean, do you remember our Elvis story? He was searching too. He just needed a sign, and a sign was given.
We hear stories about people summoning UFOs, looking for signs. I mean, we heard a story from our guest. Gam, if you're there, give me a sign. Boom.
God.
I mean, just like deeply connected with his own reality. It's like that's the divine moment. It's the poetry of life.
It could be both, Jackson. It could be both.
What a connection, though, to our creator, if we are created, to know that, like, you can pick up the phone line and dial 911 and be like, hey, I need some verification.
I need about
here.
$50. Jesus.
But I need some verification here. Send me something, and it happens sometimes, People often get it when they need it the most,
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. It's like, I often think of all these things you guys talk about, and I think about what's coming from the interior of the individual's mind and what's coming from the outside. And that's one of the big
those connected.
Yeah, how do they connect, or are they connected, or what level are they connected? And I think one of the things I've kind of come to like be more interested in is say, well, it's the hunt for that. It's the desire to understand that that's more important than absolutely knowing it.
Couldn't agree more. Yep.
Totally. Well, yeah. It's a Trojan horse into everything interesting. The occult, science, astronomy, art, history. It's just what you start looking into the paranormal and you'll start uncovering all kinds of cool shit, and you'll learn a lot about yourself too, and what you believe and what you feel, and you'll ask questions too. And I think that's what's so great about it.
Who was it? It was Steve Berg, not
our buddy Steve,
your buddy Steve Berg, but he was
your buddy Steve Berg.
It's our buddy Steve Berg, but he would be he always would say like, well, what's more fun? You want to sit back and go like, no, none of it's real, or you want to go like, oh yeah, let's go investigate. Let's go have fun. And at the end of the day, like, we're on our deathbed. Are you going to ever regret going like,
no?
Could it have been real? Could it be real? Is it real? Like, at least entertain it.
I think it enchants your life a little bit,
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know it's enchanted mine.
You buy a balloon.
That's all it is.
Buy a goddamn balloon.
Yeah. Have a little joy in your life.
Go kick a ball in a creek.
Go kick the ball.
Look at a bird, for Christ's sake.
You don't go to the lake house and not jump in the lake.
That is right.
Wear a pink shirt. Go for it. All right, this is from Pamela. Hi, guys. I'm excited about this one.
Hi.
Also, we have an illustration for this one.
Excellent.
So, visual aids.
Michael's in rare form tonight.
That's good.
I kind of
I like
love
it.
it.
I've been listening to the podcast for about a year now and just love it. The subject matter is so diverse and you approach it with the perfect blend of seriousness and humor. With each episode, I hope I'll hear stories similar to mine, but so far, nothing. I've told only a handful of people about my experience and always refer to it as a set of dreams, but I have always wondered if I was really dreaming or something else. I'd love to hear your take on it.
I just fast forwarded to a drawing.
Yeah, hold that thought. Hold that thought.
Bryce, jump into the end of the story.
good.
Yeah, he's always got to straight to Act 3.
But wow. Go ahead, Michael.
Now I have to have a little.
You know how Bryce binges a TV show?
He watches the last episode.
Exactly. It was around.
No, he watches like half of the first episode too. Though.
Skips to the end. It was around 1975, making me about 9 years old. We lived in a small town in central New York, and we were one of the few families in the village that had a swimming pool. From my bedroom window at the back of the house, I had a full view of the pool. In the dream, I am awakened by a loud noise. I get out of bed and I look out my bedroom window and see a small, stereotypical, saucer-shaped craft that appears to have crash-landed in the yard to the right of the pool shed.
Whoa.
Fucking love these backyard landings.
The ship is very small, no more than 5 feet tall and perhaps 10 feet wide. Not uncommon. We've heard of small craft like this. A lot of them are just the size of a car.
That's E.T., right? I mean, the kid throws the kid
But
throws
this
the
is in
baseball.
75. This is before E.T.
Amazing.
I'm okay. It's resting at a right angle as if one of the landing legs is not working, and there is vague, shadowy movement going on around it. I can't see well from my bedroom, and in the next moment, I am standing outside within about 20 feet of the craft.
Whoa.
I can now make out the creatures, whom I assume came from the craft. This is where my story deviates from any others I've heard. The creatures were not grays, nor did they resemble anything I've heard of in all the years that I have followed the experience. They resembled archery arrows. I've attached an image I drew to give you a better illustration. Bryce, show that picture now to Ryan. The rest of you head over to at Bigfoot Collectors Club on Instagram.
Okay.
Oh.
I'm going to kind of describe this.
Well, she does. She goes ahead.
Okay.
And,
Great.
They were probably 3 to 4 feet tall and walked with the arrow part of their head pointing upwards. Their arms and legs were thin, fragile-looking appendages and very stick-like. The tips of the arrow were the crown of their heads, and their eyes were located at the ends of the arrow, so like stalks, like the eyes of a snail.
Yeah.
Their mouth was a little more than a slit. As I stood there, one of the smaller ones approached me and explained non-verbally that their ship had broken down and that they were repairing it as quickly as possible. I accepted this as all perfectly normal, and within a few minutes, they all reboarded the craft and away they went. When I woke, I was back in my bed and remembered thinking how nice they were and how I wasn't scared at all and how I hoped they would come back. If this were the end of the whole thing, I could easily pass it off as nothing more than a dream.
Right.
But it wasn't a one-time event.
Oh my God.
Non-verbally.
Not so telepathically.
Oh, right.
I'm
okay.
guessing.
I didn't know if it was like some like sign language.
Charades kind of situation from the arrow people. Like 3 words. Okay.
The arrow, by the way, the arrow person looks like Greedo and E.T. had a baby.
Yeah.
It is awesome.
They are adorable is what they are.
Oh, by the way, Pamela, if you drew this,
Great job.
Great.
Yeah.
really good art.
Yeah,
a lot of
it's
life
awesome.
in the eyes. Yeah.
Years later, I woke again, but instead of it being by a loud noise, it was the sound of childlike giggles.
Ew.
I instantly knew who it was and looked out my bedroom window. I was overjoyed to see the same ship I'd seen before and the same arrow-shaped visitors. This time, the ship was properly landed, and instead of the creatures scurrying around it frantic to get their repairs done and be on their way, they were in the swimming pool, which has not yet been opened for the year. The cover was still on it, but being arrows, they had no trouble sliding under the tarp and splashing around happy as could be in the water.
That's kind of creepy.
I went to the edge and peered under and watched them. One of them, I feel it was the same one that had approached me before, came out to me. He was quite giddy. He greeted, I'm gay. Sorry, I had to. He was quite giddy and greeted me with a hug and said that they had been passing through this area and had time to stop, so they thought they'd go for a quick swim. He hoped that I didn't mind. Shortly after, they were done and had to get going. I was incredibly sad and sobbing that they had to leave. I even asked if I could go with them and was told no. My little alien friend told me not to be sad and promised in all caps, they'd stop back again as soon as they could. They liked the swimming pool. It was something they didn't have, from wherever it was they called home. I watched them all get on board the ship and watched it fly straight up into the night sky and out of sight. I woke up shortly after, still crying and feeling absolutely heartbroken. Sadly, I have not seen them since. I moved out of that house in 1988, and my parents sold the house in 1995. The new owners are not in the least bit approachable, so going to them with this crazy story is out of the question.
Wow.
More importantly than that, have you ever heard of this kind of alien creature, what I've always called the arrow people? Were these just strange childhood dreams or something more? I was raised in a household of firm alien and UFO believers. My dad and I would spend many nights in that same backyard looking up at the sky from our lounge chairs, watching and talking about life on other planets. So even at such a young age as 10, I probably knew more about such things than most of my friends. But arrow people? I'm pretty sure we never talked about arrow people, Pamela.
Wow.
Pamela, I don't know. I love this. This is rad. These guys, I will say, they do remind me of the weird marmoset-like creatures in the Betty Andreasson story, where during her abduction experience, when they took her to the other realm, she said she passed through that area where there were a lot of 3 to 4 foot tall, like monkey-like beings that had stalks and big eyes on the stalks.
Oh, wow.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Wow.
And later she was told that that's where the Greys grew their eyes. So we have,
I remember that.
we have had creatures that sort of look like this. Now their feet and their hands were different, and the stalks went up instead of down. These guys are like little hammerhead shark people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love this. I don't know what it is. To me, it has the feeling of fairy lore just as much as UFO story.
That working on your interstellar lightship in the backyard is such a strange motif. Like this little spaceship that came from God knows where is having some tripod trouble, and they just need to they just need to find the right Allen wrench, and while they're there, maybe they can get a glass of water or a cupcake
Or a quick swim.
quick swim, and hey, we won't be in your hair too long. And it's so strange, but we hear it again and again. Like, what is this thing about fixing your craft? Or like, it's weird.
I love it. Unique alien creatures. This is great.
Did I miss some? Like, what did they need from her?
Nothing.
So it was happenstance that they landed in her backyard.
If you believe that there are happenstance in these type of stories, or if it's all quote unquote meant to be,
what was needed was not.
or
we don't know what they needed.
Could this have been an alien gray abduction encounter, but the memories they gave her were more friendly?
Swimming in the pool.
And you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Could it be that this is
we don't know what the
altered memory
was,
of it?
You know what I mean?
Because she says, I don't know if it's a dream or reality. I will say the vivid detail. Now, I had very vivid dreams as a kid, but I was always pretty sure that I had been dreaming. So who knows? But I love this story. It's very fun.
Yeah.
And it maybe.
You bring up such a great point, and I think it's one that we so often look over. Like, when, I don't know, have you ever guys had an experience where like, I wasn't sure if I was dreaming? No, I've always known whether I was dreaming or if I'm back in reality. I've never had a problem where it's like where one slipped into the other.
Well, I mean, when I'm dreaming, I don't know.
Like
I'm
when
dreaming,
you're awake, you mean.
But when I'm awake.
Yes.
Totally.
So, yes, and what I'm saying is I'm sort of on to your point of like, when somebody is saying, okay, I must be dreaming this because it's so weird and so strange. But you're probably not dreaming because, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just such a weird element. The
There's
only thing that
nothing-
makes them think they're dreaming is the weird thing that's taking
It's
place.
like, this
in
couldn't be
front-
real,
This
yeah.
cannot be real.
This violates my sort of rules of reality.
The thing we need,
Right.
the thing we need here is corroborating eyewitness testimony. We need. This is a story that like we need. This happened in 1975. This is in the prime of like weird John Keel strangeness. Like we needed a John Keel to come out and then find out if anyone saw any weird lights in the sky that night. It's not enough to go on just based on this one thing, but I'm very intrigued by it. And I'm very open to it.
This is 1975.
When the first time it happened, it was 1975. She was about,
How
it was around 1975, and she was about 9 years old at the
so
time.
can I ask how old is this woman who wrote in?
Well, if it was 1975 and she was 9, somebody do the horse math on
Oh,
that.
I can do that. Hold on. I'm born in 70.
She was
wait,
75 to 24, so that's
my mind went
you
dark.
got 49 years there,
I
and
see
then
a
you
little
had
bit
9.
of yellow in there, but
51 years.
there's
You got
no
60 years old.
numbers.
She's 60.
60.
So, let's say around 60.
Yeah.
Here's my thought with that is like I have no reason not to believe.
I don't.
She saw what she saw.
Yeah, me too.
And the older I get, the more I go, I believe you. I don't know what it is. But I believe you.
When I say we need a little more to go on, I'm saying to get to that next step of like, okay. We got other people that have seen it. This is
There
really
were marks in the
like
backyard.
to get us out of was it a dream or not? You know what I mean?
Evidence and science.
Yeah, but I believe your story, and it's very cool. And this is not unlike any of the other stories we've heard. You know, it's just you're not sure of what was real and what was not, and a lot of people in those situations aren't sure what's real and what's not either.
Yeah.
I bet you'll see him again. I hope the Arrow people keep that promise.
She was 9.
9 years old. Cool stuff.
I think she's 58.
9.
I think I was off. My horse math was.
It's fine. She's close, about 60.
Yeah, but that's
Whatever.
That's classic. That's classic
It's
horse
fine with
math.
horse math. That's fine.
That's the whole thing about horse math.
It's
Yeah.
give or take. It's give or
It's a
take.
fluid dynamic
That's
situation.
58.
Yeah.
58.
It's a
All
give
right.
and take science.
All right,
That's what's great
everyone.
about it.
Thank you for sending in your stories. That wraps up another L-File session. But before we conclude this episode, and Ryan, you're going to stick around for a minute. Let's head over to the Collector's Corner. But first, let's thank some Club Scouts who've recently joined us over on BCC, the other side. Now, Ryan Gaul, you are
I'm a Club Scout.
you're a Club Scout.
Hell
You're
yeah.
official
and,
Club Scout.
and by the way,
Thank you.
I watch everything and listen to everything every month.
There you go.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Thank
I've
you.
never been mentioned.
You have. We said
No.
your name. We shouted
You did?
you out. Yeah.
I mean,
I missed
you've
it.
been on the show
You missed
twice.
it. You
gonna
probably
do-
don't listen to the end of the show. That's the
Oh,
problem.
maybe that's it.
All right.
Gotta tune out.
Archie Cuba-Rubia.
Thank you.
Elwin Ariate. Cosmeteer.
Thank you, Owen. Welcome.
Aaron Oman.
Thank you, Aaron.
Hunter Bootyhas. Cosmeteer.
Thank you, Hunter. Welcome.
Aaron Flynn.
Thanks, Aaron.
KJ Quinta.
Thanks, KJ.
Claire C.
Thanks, Claire.
Apparently awesome. Cosmeteer.
Apparently awesome. Welcome.
Vera Cocha.
Thanks, Vera.
Brian J. Giordano. Cosmeteer.
Welcome, Brian. Thank you.
Chris Gadd.
Thanks, Chris.
Hunter Waltman.
Thanks, Hunter.
Raphael Landestoy.
Thanks, Raph.
Rashawn Hudson.
Thank you, Rashawn.
And our favorite name of the week, 3Mo G-Cat Cosmeteer.
Primo G-Cat.
Yeah.
What up? Welcome.
Slim Pickens. Head over to patreon.com/BigfootCollectorsClub to unlock total access to 3 bonus episodes every month, the BCC Discord, and more. You can upgrade to the Cosmeteer membership to unlock 3 more music tracks from super producer Riley, as well as ad-free episodes of the main feed shows like the one you're listening to right now. You be like Ryan. It's time to take a break.
You will
No
not
breaks.
regret it.
You
won't
no
regret
breaks. There's no breaks. Okay, let's swing by the Collector's Corner to find out what we're working on, what we're currently collecting, reading, watching, or simply into. Ryan, do you have anything you want to plug, or do you have anything you're watching or reading
No.
that you're super into right now?
You know, I'm real close to locking a horror movie.
Very cool.
We're going to be sending out. It's already been sent out and submitted to several festivals.
very
So
exciting.
the next year we're going on a festival run. So I will do that
Great,
soon
come back.
with you guys, and
Yeah,
I would love to
please.
come
Yes,
back and give you guys the chance to watch it, and we can talk. Like I would love to talk about it with you guys.
Can you give us a
Yes.
taste
Yeah, give us
of
a
like what
little tease.
what
Yeah, it's
corner of
It's a
phenomenon we're talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about it's a found footage movie,
Right.
but it's sort of a hybrid. It's a little more filmic than a normal found footage movie, and it's four guys who go up to Maine, and we shot this up in Maine a couple of years ago, and they go up to Maine to celebrate a
weird.
40th birthday party.
That's weird because I wasn't working 2 years ago.
That is weird.
Josie, listen,
guys.
if you would have done it for free, we would have hired you.
You don't know my quote, do you?
My quote is free.
Yeah.
No, but they go up to Maine to celebrate a 40th birthday party, and they find a cabin on a lake in northern Maine, and
Okay.
things
Are you
go
saying too much?
Things go south.
Okay, I love it.
love it.
Things
I
go
love it.
south.
Very cool. Boys, anything you want to plug or mention Collector's Corner this week?
Bryce
change?
is saying no. I don't.
Yeah. You know what?
I was like, because of collecting, I've got this new device that I'm excited about. I want to show you guys. I'm going to try to take this mic mobile.
Whoa.
This feels like a show and tell.
Here we
Yeah,
go.
this is like a stand-up comedian moment here.
Oh, hey, what's the deal with noise music? It's so noisy. Hold on. Oh boy, hold on.
Now it's
Everybody
physical
talk amongst
comedy
yourselves.
and prop comedy in one. Let's see, what am I? I've been like woefully neglecting collecting or reading or anything. I'll tell you what, I finished Below Deck Sailing Yacht and I'm so fucking hooked. And
Man, we gotta go sailing still.
yeah, so I think I'm gonna go back and watch all of Below Deck Sailing Yacht. It's
Okay.
great.
Is it good?
So much sex happening in such tight spaces. It's wild.
Okay, so this is the device that I got. I got it for noise music, but I feel like it might be cool for paranormal hunting.
Oh, yeah.
What this does is it rejects all normal radio waves and it picks up everything else. So like I'm
Oh, whoa.
I don't like that at all.
Oh, I love
check
that.
this out. Look what your phone's doing.
Try the steel in my foot.
Ow.
That's like it's
Oh,
so
do you have
picking up.
steel in your
I have
foot?
some hardware in my
Heel. Go to
heel.
the heel. Oh, shit.
Oh, got a little thing.
Yeah, I got a little
Antenna
taste.
Bryce. But anyways, yeah. So this
That's
device,
awesome.
it picks up like radiation and electromagnetic interference. I'm putting it to my microphone right now. Anyway, so but I was like, what if you use this in a paranormal
We will.
ghost hunting
Yeah, I love it.
situation? First thing I did was
What
went
if you
in the
hold it up
bathroom
to
with it.
a spirit
I checked
box?
for the ghost.
What's the real purpose of that device? Like what before?
Hard to say.
Just to annoy the fuck out of someone?
It's made by this company called Soma Labs that I've been really into lately. They're not a sponsor. I just like their stuff. And they make these weird esoteric devices.
That's so cool.
This is like people use it for noise music, but also just for scanning. You can, if it's useful as a sound tool, you could find a source of interference or something. Or
I think it's cool.
Oh,
It's
kind
just
of like
fun.
a dowsing rod.
Oh no, it's actually.
Hey, stop!
You
it.
could open this thing up and you could tell exactly
You could-
how it works.
give it to Ryan. I bet he can tell it. He'll figure it out.
Right? How does this work?
All right, we are heading over to the other side now. Ryan Gaul, true or false?
Yeah.
Are you going to join us over on the Patreon this week?
I will not do anything but join you over there.
Great,
Hell
because
I would love to.
we actually got a suggestion for a topic of high strangeness sent in to us from listener Will.
Oh,
Pull that away from your mic for a second. Can you turn that off?
I would if I could.
How does it work? Do you know how it works?
Yeah, it needs to. Hold on.
Wait, he
There you
knows
go.
how
There
it
you go.
works.
He knows
there
how it
you
works.
go.
We got this suggestion from listener Will. This is a little tease for our upcoming episode over on the other side on Friday. Really enjoying the podcast. I wanted to suggest a topic for high strangeness. You've previously discussed the Versailles time slip, but as far as I can see, you haven't yet mentioned the Liverpool time slips.
Oh.
The fascinating thing about this is that there are multiple stories of people experiencing this unrelated to each other. Will. So guess where we're headed, boys?
To Liverpool.
Liverpool. To Liverpool.
Don't slip there. Don't slip.
Watch out for all the time bananas.
All slipped.
If we don't see you
Stayed out of my
over
studio the
there
other day,
on
but I made it
Friday,
in.
we will see you back here
Still recorded.
next week
Still
for
rolling,
a
bud.
special Patreon.
slip can
Okay,
stop
I
that.
really have to tell them something
Slip
now.
it out of a.
He slipped out of his good mood, didn't he?
It slipped right out.
Next week we're having a special Patreon unlock, and then we're taking a little holiday break for Memorial Day, and then we're
Someone
back.
could
And
use one. Use a little break.
guess what happens when we're back?
What happens?
Summer begins.
That's right.
And you know what happens when summer begins?
Something fun.
A new fun theme
That's
for
right.
all
Michael
summer
gives us
long.
our summer theme.
Yes, summer homework. Yeah. All right, everybody. Until then, good night.
Good night.
Go get regress.
And get going,
Yes, and go get regret.
Get gone. Get it. Jesus Christ.
Bigfoot Collectors Club is executive produced by Michael McMillan, Riley Bray, and Bryce Johnson. Our show is engineered, produced, and scored by Riley Bray. Our theme song, Come Alone, is by Suneaters. Follow them on Spotify. Want more BCC? For exclusive full-length episodes every month and total access to the other side, check out patreon.com/BigfootCollectorsClub.